Hello, welcome to another episode of Constitutionalist Podcast. I am your host, Joseph M. Leonard. That's L-E-N-A-R-D. It looks French. It's not. It's Leonard without an O. Thank you for tuning in. As Graham Norton used to say on his show, let's get on with the show! Special segment for February and March, midweek drops. Normally Saturday monologues and normally a guest appearance on a Wednesday. February and March, 2 a week, Tuesday and Thursdays, in order to get caught up on some interviews that have been stacking up. Enjoy. Going to join me today is Dawn Stevens. It's pronounced that, right? Not Stephens?
It is Stevens, yes.
Yeah, it is spelled, though, S-T-E-P-H-E-N-S, so Dawn Stevens. And as I joked with her, we found each other via the Podmatch system, and I joked with her, reading verbatim, hey, as long as you could deal with my lame puns like I will not be able to resist, better to be a fruit pot than a fruit cake. I think we'll be able to have a great fun conversation. Welcome to the show, Dawn. How are you?
Thanks so much.
Yeah, well, before we get into why would I say that to her? Let's do the proverbial Christian show, another pun, right? Proverbs, proverbial first question. Where were you born and raised? Where are you now? Significant places you may have been in between. How much time did you spend in prison and for what? That
there you go.
For the benefit of the transcript, she's laughing. These are jokes, people.
Well, born and raised near Cleveland, Ohio. So not far from Detroit. There you go.
Cleveland sucks. I mean, rocks. Right?
Yeah. Well, left there at 18 and never went back. So lived a long time in Virginia, near Virginia Beach area. And then right now I'm living in Raleigh, North Carolina. So that's my new home. And I love it.
Yeah, Virginia Beach. So another pun, of course. Life's a beach, right?
There you go. Yes. Well, I love the beach, but I think I like the mountains more. So,
beautiful.
In Raleigh, we're right in the middle of both. So it's a great place.
I've been to Raleigh, but only once. Caught a Carolina Hurricanes game there.
Yeah, I'm a huge Hurricane fan.
Yes. I forget who they played, but yeah, I used to work for Kmart headquarters, an IT guy. So I'd go out all around the country to our various warehouse distribution centers is the word I'm looking for. And, work with the computers and whatnot. And you mentioned mountains. One of my favorite opportunities was while out in outside of Denver. I forget now because I haven't I've been on disability since 2004, so I haven't worked for Kmart for a couple decades now. So I forget where that distribution center was, but it was close enough to Denver that while there over the weekend, drove up into the Rockies. Oh, so nice to be able to do that. And indeed, it was warm weather when I was there, but of course, as I drew closer to the top of the Rockies, it was snowing.
Yep, sounds right.
Its own eco-environment. It depends on what part of the mountain you're on, what weather you get. Yes?
Yes, very much.
Anyway, you're not here to talk geography. Just going to let you explain the fruit pot thing, and indeed why you are here.
All right.
Go ahead.
I will happily explain it. So, um, Joseph, I am a fruit pot. That's what I tell people when they say, "What do you do?" or "Who
Not,
are
not
you?"
a teapot. I'm a little teapot, short
Well,
and
there is a
stout, right?
teapot too.
Oh,
I've been the teapot. I'll explain all that. But basically, I spent my whole life searching for purpose. Why did God make me? I mean, I grew up a Christian.
and
I knew that.
this show is about that. Yes,
Yeah,
purpose. Exactly.
I just really, and maybe it was partly being a girl growing up in the 70s and 80s, after the women's lib movement. We were we had so much pushed on us that you can be
Yeah.
anything,
Yeah.
doors open to you.
Well,
And that was really a lot of pressure.
first wave feminism is way different than like the fifth wave today. So,
So
yeah.
much. And people don't realize the pressure that we had on us. And so I just had really felt that whatever job I chose or the career path that I chose would define me, would be my identity. And God had to really work through that idea in me. And He used it to show me that, my identity is in Him. So I went through this process, trying to figure out who I am. I pretty much told God, I'll be anything except this, and the first thing I told him I would never be was a school teacher because I got in a lot of trouble at school. I like to draw pictures. I like to write stories. And I did them in the wrong place. So I would often write on, draw pictures all over test papers. And so I just decided I didn't want to be a school teacher because I didn't like school.
You do want to put up with kids like you.
Well, you're right. Or, but when I graduated from high school and went to visit my sister at a college, still not knowing who I was or what I would be, her roommate came in and laid a poster board down, started to draw pictures on it. And right away I decided, whatever your major is, that's what I'm going to be. Done, decided, I can't figure this out. And of course, she was an elementary ed major. So I went to school and became a school teacher and realized that I was gifted at it. I loved it. I thought this is what I was created to do. God had given me this gift and I was so happy. I had children of my own at the same time. And then I was really struggling being 100% mom and 100% teacher. And so because I couldn't stop being a mom, I stopped
Yeah.
being a teacher. And then I found myself really empty and unfulfilled again.
Being a mom has to be part teacher, though, really.
It was, and it should have been enough because moms are wonderful people. But I think partly because of my upbringing and the idea that I would need a career to be someone, I felt unfulfilled. I felt like there was more that God had for me. And so during that time, I started running an online business. These are the .com days. And I began doing that. And the only part I was having fun doing it, taking care of my kids and running a business, but I wasn't.
Were you one of those who created a .com? It went to $1 million value, then
You
back to
would
zero. Yeah.
Yeah, if so, I wouldn't be sitting here today
Yeah.
because the one part of the business I was terrible at was selling. Didn't make a whole lot of money. So as my children got older, my husband then decided, why don't you really go out and look for another job? Like maybe this isn't it. And so I then told God, okay, I'll do anything except, of course, be a salesperson because we both know I can't sell. And that's when I met some people from the world's largest Christian publishing company. And man, I was really excited to talk to them. I thought, oh, I'm going to, write stories, illustrate, draw pictures. This is what I've dreamed of doing my whole life. I told them, I'll take the job that you have. I'll take it. I can't wait to work for you. And so they hired me, and my new position was sales.
Of course.
So once again, I'm doing the one thing I told God I'll do anything but, and I'm now tasked to sell their books to schools. And because had been a teacher, I knew how to write lesson plans. I knew how to create materials. So I started doing that. And
You were able to
Man,
Do what
Joseph,
you know.
I
Yeah.
was selling more books than anybody in the company. And I quickly got promoted. I was the head of this whole division that sold books to schools. We ran like a little Christian book fair type thing. They were a Christian publishing company. And
Well,
I thought,
go ahead and name them.
Thomas Nelson.
Okay.
Um,
Doesn't have
and
to
so
be a secret. Yeah.
this is the early 2000s, but at this point I thought this is what I was created to do, right? Like this is my dream job. I'm making a lot of money. I'm doing everything God has tasked me to do, and I absolutely love, this job. And about 4 years in, the company closed the whole division.
Mm.
They fired the 25 reps that worked under me, and they called me up and they said, your position no longer exists. So at that moment, I just got really kind of angry at God. I'm like, I don't know who I am. I have no idea what you've created me to do. I feel like everything you've given me to hold, I've done with all my might. And that's when he pretty much said to me, Dawn, you need to stop defining yourself by what you hold and start defining yourself by what you grow. So it was through that whole experience that I wrote this children's book called The Little Pot. And Little Pot goes through this journey where,
not the
yeah,
smoke
not that
pot. Yeah.
pot, of like a clay pot.
Not a little bit of pot to smoke.
Yeah, I
A
know. Well,
little
it,
pot made of pottery. Yeah.
yes, because he's the potter and he's made each of us. So I'm this little clay vessel, and the first thing that the potter does in the story is he puts papers inside Little Pot, and Little Pot thinks he's supposed to be smart because he's holding papers. But then the potter makes another vessel, and he takes the papers away from him and puts them in that other vessel, and Little Pot is empty, unfulfilled. The next thing the potter does is fill this little vessel with coins. And now the pot believes I'm supposed to be rich. This is great. Like, who doesn't want to be a coin pot, right? But then the potter makes a vessel that's shaped like a piggy bank. And he takes all of Little Pot's coins and he puts them in that vessel. Little Pot is empty again. And then the potter fills him with dirt, and he does not want to be a dirt pot. But he gets a seed and something starts to grow, and he thinks, oh, I know, because he got ahead of the potter, which I did my whole life. He says, I'm going to be a flower pot. I'm going to grow beautiful flowers. And my purpose may not be smart or rich, but at least I look good, right? He's going to be a flower pot. And so he does, he grows flowers, but then he wakes up one day and his flowers are changing and turning hard and green, and they're not very pretty anymore. And what's happening is they're turning to strawberries because he is a fruit pot. And that's where the potter explains to him, you're not a paper pot or a coin pot or a flower pot. You are a fruit pot. And it was at that point in my life, after I lost the job from Thomas Nelson, that I realized I need to just focus on being a vessel that can produce the fruit of the Holy Spirit, which, is love, joy, peace, patience. And so that's why I tell people I'm a fruit pot. Like, it really doesn't matter what happens where I work or what I do as a career, or, if I'm a mom, if I'm not a mom, if I'm married, if I'm not married. I just need to be that vessel that the Holy Spirit can grow his fruit through. And so that became my focus. Once that happened, God called me to be a school principal. I started trying to produce love and joy and peace there. And that's where
among
we developed
that chaos. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was through those experiences that we actually talked about the Teapot. We wrote a second book called The Teapot, where we helped kids understand that the fruit they grow is not for themselves. They need to serve others with it. And so they pour into others, and the Teapot helps Little Pot discover to give his fruit away because he has to pour his tea out. Mm-hmm. And then we went on to write a third book about an oil lamp that helped kids learn to shine and tell their God stories with others. And my last book that I've written is about a small jar with a crack in it that refuels oil lamp, because I got through some burnout with help from other people. So yeah, it's just been a fun journey of, using what God has been doing in my life, and telling it through stories. And now I share those stories a lot at women's conferences. I go and speak to adults. Honestly, we resonate with it, I think, even more than kids do.
Yeah, and hence my better to be a fruit pot than a fruit cake joke. And
Yeah.
I'm loving this. I don't, a little behind the scenes. I don't not research my guests because I'm lazy, but yeah, I'm a little lazy. But I purposefully don't want to know a lot about the guest because I discover you just as the audience discovers you, fresh and new, and we go flow with the go, right? Whatever
Right.
rabbit holes open. So yeah, all these lessons kids need to learn and unfortunately usually don't get.
Yeah.
This is a great series. I love this concept. Absolutely. Oh, and the other thing is that my OCD brain and the lame puns. You mentioned patience. I don't have any because I don't have a medical degree. But different kind of patience.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Wordplay. Anyway, I didn't have anywhere to go with that. It's just I
Yeah.
can't resist the lame pun. Yeah. So, is there a fifth book on the horizon?
Well, yes. I actually have it done and it's in the illustration process. I just haven't had time to work on it. But it is about a black kettle, and it's a black kettle that calls the teapot black. And
Oh,
so it plays
perfect.
with that pun. But
Oh, I
it
love that.
yeah, it deals with jealousy and, comparisons that we do with other people, because I
Yeah.
think in our world today, I mean, I even struggle with it. I was on Facebook scrolling just this past week and saw a friend who was getting the accolades that I wanted. And I was like, oh, and then you just go to bed feeling like I'm not doing enough, or I'm not enough. Again, it goes back to that identity, doesn't it? Like everything we do, we define ourselves by, and it's so hard to keep our identity in Christ alone. And so
Yeah,
yeah,
measuring up to the standards of above versus our own in this fallen world and the social, cultural pressures and economics of needing to earn a living to get by and all that. Yeah, I mean, this world puts a lot of pressures on us that are unfortunate. And indeed, as you said, it's hard to, at times, I've got a show, a listener feedback one actually with Judy Bierman discussing self reflection. And indeed, it's going into the bathroom and looking in that mirror and determining us as being adequate enough for what we can do, what we could do, fitting into this fallen world. I don't know where I'm going with that either. I'm not always as articulate. If I had a month to write it out for a book, I could get it right. But yeah,
yeah.
sometimes I struggle to articulately say what the hell I'm trying to get across.
Well,
But I think you know what I mean.
that's why I write children's books. You only get about 700-800 words, and you got to get it out.
A lot
So,
of pictures, right? Yeah. It's like movies. You have the thematic score, you have the music to help set mood.
exactly,
With
exactly.
books, you can use less words, and the old adage, picture's worth 1,000 words. And indeed, a lot of times it is.
For real. So much. Yes.
But a
So,
picture looks can be deceiving. Back to kind of what you were saying, Martin Luther King Jr., right? Content of character. We need to get past first appearances and first impressions. They can be wrong. We're all entitled to bad days, right? You meet someone
Right.
on the street, they seem like a snarly SOB, but they might be the best, fun-loving, great person you would ever meet, but that day. So that's where second chances and grace has to come in. You work that into this book.
That's such an interesting thing you bring up because I recently just have been through a class dealing with grace, which has helped me so much in how I look at others and see others. I think they all have a little bit of that element in there, especially the potter's grace on the vessels. One of Teapot's big issues in that book is that he's surrounded by these cute little teacups that all look the same. In fact, when the potter's making him, he makes them in pieces as a potter does. Like there's the spout and the lid and the bowl are all separate. And he's the bowl looking at the spout going, well, that's ugly. And looking at the lid going, what's that? Can't hold anything. What's a stupid ball on top? And then the next day the potter gives it to him and he becomes the thing that and then he's constantly looking at the teacups thinking, I'm so awkward looking. I have this big nose. I have this silly hat. And then throughout the book, when he realizes that he can serve the potter with his spout and his hat or lid keeps the tea warm, that it has purpose, he's grateful for it. And he realizes, but all throughout that, you see the potter's grace with him, even with Teapot, because Little Pot gets convinced to keep his strawberries, and the potter prunes him in the story as God prunes us at times. But we see God's grace.
Yeah, you want to be pruned, not be a prude.
There you go.
Again,
there you go.
Wordplay puns again. I can't resist.
There you go. Yes.
It
need to be painful, but it's healthy. It's good. That's right.
Right.
So
exactly. Yeah, there's great analogies here or metaphors, but as I like to joke, and in fact, I finally got around it and said it in. No, I don't think it was Book of Kennedy. I think it was. I'm trying to grab it. A short story, A Lasting Legacy. I'm too clever for metaphors. I use meta sixes. Huh? Bum.
There you go.
Yeah, again, at any rate. Well, I like to keep my shows kind of short, but I think we've covered a lot of great ground here at a larger 30,000 foot level. What is a website for people to find you, your books, reach out to you, that sort of thing?
So I would love them to come visit me online. I am Dawn Stevens Books, DAWNSTEPHENSBOOKS.com. And on that website, you can read about all the different vessels. You can purchase the books. You can hear a talk that I give and contact me for speaking engagements. I also, on the side, run a publishing company. So if there's anyone interested in having a book published or learning about self-publishing, you can contact me there and I will happily help with that.
I also have How to Write a Book and Get It Published, Tips and Techniques. So
there you go. Yeah. It's not easy. So, yeah. It's not an easy process.
No, not. But those of us, it's odd because those of us who are authors, you would think wouldn't want more competition, but generally we're all the opposite. We want others to write the books we know are in them. Yes.
Sure. We all do. And you know what? Publishing it might be a little easier than selling it, right? Because we're back to that sales.
Oh, wow. Yep. Oh, two different animals there.
Yes,
and I'm going to close with one more word play, right? Because we're talking vessels. We're not talking shipping containers on a boat across the ocean.
No. Grammarly always wants me to substitute my words with the ship. And I'm like, it's not a ship. It's a piece of pottery. So,
I had no idea that would lead to something good
yeah.
as authors and publishers. Yeah, that Grammarly, absolutely. Yeah, even Microsoft Word check, spell check, and that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It it wants to change your vessel to a ship, which would be inappropriate. But if you put TO rather than TOO or TWO, oh, it doesn't pay any attention to that. That's clearly grammatically not what you meant there to warn you to change that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, it was a blast talking to you, Dawn Stevens. Thank you for stopping by. Take care. God bless.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Like and subscribe to Constitutionalist Politics Podcast and share episodes. We need your help.
Thank you for having tuned into another Constitutionalist podcast show. I really appreciate that you stopped by. Again, please like, share, subscribe. We need you to help spread the Constitutionalist movement. Thank you again. Take care. God bless. Love you all.